Everyone, it's Stephanie Ketcher at Remax and Love Living in Kitchen Waterloo. We're here again today with Lucky from Mortgage Ingenuity. You can find him online on Instagram at Lucky Mortgages and also Google Lucky Mortgages for your approval and pre-qualification online. Today I want to talk about saving your 20%. So it's a big question I get. People always say, first-time buyers especially, use this excuse. I can't buy something yet. I don't have my 20% saved. You don't need 20% to buy a house. You can buy with 5% down and pay the insurance fee. So the CMHC fee, for example, is on that. So we're going to use an example today of a house at $400,000 and the costs associated with that, what you need down, what you have to save if you want 20%. So Lucky, let's talk about saving 20% versus paying that CMHC fee.
Okay, so thanks, Stephanie. This is very common. So it's always tough to save for the down payment. I think that's one of the hardest parts about buying a house is saving for that down payment, especially in the competitive market. We're seeing house prices rise to record-breaking numbers. Let's say an average house price is $400,000, right? Let's say you buy something for $400,000. You would need to have $80,000 for 20% down. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of majority of people don't have $80,000 sitting there. Let's say you have $20,000, which is kind of more realistic to have, which is about 5%, which is what you need to buy this $400,000 home. Now, we kind of did a quick math, and do I buy a house now or do I save up for 20%? Well, in order for you to get 20%, you need to have, on top of your $20,000, you need to come up with $60,000. Now, $60,000 depends how fast you would save on. With buying a house for $400,000, you want to kind of look at how much is this house going to grow in value if you buy now compared to if you want to wait until you save for your total 20%. If you're an average market right now is probably around, Kitchen Waterloo typically is around 5%, not the last 3 years, but normally 5% is what the average house price kind of goes up by. So if you look at $60,000 is what you need to save. You're basically looking at, you're increasing in 3 years, you're going to make that $60,000.
On the investment of your property. So that's not money that you're just making, that's your home growing in equity just by owning it. You've done nothing to it, it's growing in equity. I have a really great example of a house in town that someone bought 4 years ago and then sold this year in 2020. 4 years ago, they bought that property for $389,000.
Yep.
They sold this property for $591,000 recently. So over $200,000 made in equity from doing nothing in their property. If you waited to save that extra $60,000 for 3 or 4 years, you just lost out on huge amounts of money by not buying your property. So a lot of people are worried about those CMHC and insurance fees on your mortgage. Some reason they seem to think they're a bit of the devil. So if you were buying a home at $400,000, Lucky,
yep,
what would those fees approximately be?
So with CMHC, if you're putting 5% down, which would be $20,000, it would actually be 4%. Now you kind of look at it like that is actually a lot of money, but at the end of the day, when you look at the overall picture of things, 4% is about $16,000 for a $400,000 home. Now, talking with Stephanie, for example, the house she'd buy, if you're going to be selling this house 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, and you're making a lot more than $16,000, is well worth it for you, especially in Kitchener Waterloo when we're seeing a growing house market. And basically, if you're paying 4%, that's stretched out over actually 25 years because it's actually included in your mortgage. So you're not worrying about paying that $16,000 up front. You're actually paying it over time. So while you're paying off the CMHC, your house is actually growing in value a lot faster than what you were paying.
So those numbers say great things to me. Basically, stop waiting, buy the house that you want now. Maybe it's not your dream home, but you're going to buy that house, you're going to build equity in it, and then you'll be able to move on to your dream home that much quicker. So stop living at home with your parents and saving that 20% or renting that crappy apartment to wait to save that 20%. Just go out and buy yourself a home now. Lucky can get you a mortgage and I can find you the house. So let's get together and help you make some money in real estate.